Hello, we're back. Boxing Undisputed. We're here to talk news, the news edition. Rick is traveling, so apologies for the sound quality if it's not that great. He's driving, but we're doing our usual Sunday afternoon, Sunday night catch up. If you're new to this channel, you haven't listened to it before or watched before, please like and subscribe. This is our lockdown project. We're just keeping it going, keeping it rolling. Reviews, predictions, some of them bad, some of them good. So we've had some big announcements I say big announcements, we'll call them, this week. Rick, Daniel Dubois is going to be taking on Bogdan Dinu for, I think, is it the WBA international title in June, July. But yeah, announced all the same. What's your first reaction to that, Rick?
What level is the international? I get mixed up with all these different belts now. I mean,
I think it kind of puts him in there. Well, I mean, this is the joke of the WBA. So I mean, obviously AJ is the super champ. The regular belt, which is a belt that was famously held by Scott Quigg once upon a time, is held by Trevor Bryan. I think the gold holder, so they have a WBA gold belt, which is held by Robert Helenius. No, Robert Helenius. And then the champion in recess is Manuel Shah. So that tells you all you need to know. I think about a few months ago, they actually announced their top 10 in the world, and Bogdan Dinu was in there, which raised a lot of eyebrows. So it's another kind of Warren masterstroke, get Daniel Dubois to get rid of him within 4 or 5 rounds, and then all of a sudden he's ranked in the top 10 again with one of the governing bodies. But one of the things I found quite interesting with that is putting him in that fight and fighting and sanctioned by the WBA kind of tells me they don't really fancy the rematch. Otherwise they'd be fighting again, on a WBO sanction. And obviously Joyce is pretty committed now to the WBO. It looks like he's going to fight for either interim WBO or a vacant belt against Usyk later in the year.
I think if I was a boxer, I'd go down the WBA road because it sounds like there's about 20 belts to go for. You can lose and still get one, just like the sympathy belt, the WBA sympathy belt. But yeah, I mean, I'm not over looking forward to it. But he's coming back from a loss. He's still quite young, so it's not just a loss when you're used to losing. He's his first defeat. He's still very young. He did cop a bit of a bad injury. Never really saw a. Normally, when there's real bad damage, they release some kind of what do you call it? Scan. Yeah. X-ray of the injury. You've never seen that, so it makes you wonder how bad the injury actually was. But so yeah, I mean, I can't overblame them. But yeah, Dino's competent and has got a decent amateur background. I think he did. He's got quite an extensive amateur career, but has never done much in the pro ranks. And technically good. And I said to you when we were speaking earlier, he's a bit like Molina. He's competent, but then once he feels a bit of power, he's happy to go down. So he's kind of perfect for Dubois. And he's fought some decent fighters, and so he's a good yardstick. So fought Baby Miller, went a few rounds, fought Pulev. I can't remember how many rounds he went with Pulev. But again, that's what they're getting him in for. It's to try and tear, for him to smash him up in 2 or 3 rounds and go, oh, he did it quicker than so-and-so. So therefore, he's brilliant. That's all it's about.
I think there's a bit of that going on, but I think also, it's almost a psychological test as much as it is a test of just a test, because what is he going to be like after that bad eye injury and kind of quitting on his knee, the backlash, getting back into training, getting back under the lights again, how much is that going to affect his confidence? Because he doesn't strike me as the most confident boxer in the world. He's clearly got a lot of talent, but he doesn't have the swagger. He doesn't talk particularly well, but he's definitely got some talent. But how much? Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the biggest tests and one of the interesting things of the outcome of this fight is how he looks mentally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's. It'll be interesting, if the eye's not fully healed and there are problems with it, and you take a few jabs in it, will it swell up again? And all that. So, but yeah, I can't see it being too much of a problem. But so not something I'm overexcited about, but to be expected, I think, for that fight.
Yeah. All right, so that's one to look forward to. Anthony Yarde is going to be on the undercard of Denzel Bentley Felix Cash next Saturday. He is fighting a guy who I'd never heard of before, Emin Atra, who I think is top 200. I know this. So research this. I think he's number 23 in Germany in light heavyweight. So, either this is a very stacked, light heavyweight division in Germany, or, once again, they're taking absolute liberties with this opponent because it's really, I think it's really, really poor.
I think it's the latter. It's the latter. They're taking liberties. This is far worse than the Dinu fight. At least with that, Yarde is coming back off a defeat, but he's not a young fighter. It wasn't a bad defeat. It was, close fight. And this guy's far worse than Dino, and yeah, very all last minute as well. I'm a bit disappointed with it because Yarde said he's making some changes, and I thought, is he getting rid of Tunjay, or is he leaving Queensbury? And I think he's put a tweet out still to say there's changes still to be announced, but I don't know what they are. He's clearly not leaving Queensbury, or unless they had one more fight on the deal and this is it. But I wouldn't have thought they'd do it like that.
I'm not too sure. But yeah, really, really poor. And I think, if it's a bit of a kind of a tune-up and then he's going to fight again in July, I wouldn't have as much of an issue with it. But I don't know, for some reason, I can't see that happening. They don't seem to be in a rush to make the rematch with Lyndon Arthur. I do know that Lyndon Arthur is coming back from injury, though.
Is Callum Johnson on the on this card as well?
Yeah, he is.
And who's he fighting?
He's fighting a guy called Emil Markic, and this is for the vacant WBO world. No, not. Yeah, he's 32-2 with 24 knockouts. He's Croatian, but it's for the WBO global light heavyweight. So, I think they're priming Callum Johnson as an opponent for Anthony Yarde, is what I think. Yeah, that's what I think is going to be happening. But this guy that Callum Johnson's fighting, I don't think he's really fought anybody of any real note. I'm just looking at his record now. Yeah.
All these fights are being thrown together last minute. You know what I mean? This is next weekend, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Yeah. So these guys will be no good and have had very zero prep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of very one-sided fights from what I can see. They haven't announced David Adelaide's opponent yet, but he is also on the undercard. Callum Johnson is actually chief support to Bentley Cash.
They just seem to be getting it wrong, Queensbury, at the moment. And they constantly do this thing where they don't give them tough enough tests. It's either a walkover or it's a step too far. They don't seem to get the balance right. And I'm not saying that everybody always does. I'm not saying Top Rank do or or Matchroom, but it's like with Matchroom, at least like they seem to get fights and their fights just do enough. And it's like, well, they've learned from that. Like Buatsi's last fight.
Yeah.
Or Ben's last fight, though that was a good stepping stone, but the fight that Ben had before that, do you know what I mean? It was like you could see it was stretching them without being a walkover, and without it being too far. They just do gears 1, 2, 3, and then they jump to 8 and 9. They don't seem to be able to do 6 and 7. I think it's because of their budget, basically.
I think it's a bit of that. I also think it is the traditional way, though, isn't it? You usually get prospects that get to kind of 20-0 or 25-0, and they haven't really fought anybody. But it's just getting that experience, getting under the lights, especially if they haven't had an extended amateur career. I mean, it's what they do in Mexico. It's very, very popular in Mexico. It's just generally what they do, and it is a bit frustrating as a fan. But it's almost that kind of the axis, isn't it, of developing a fighter, but it's also, we're here to entertain. It's the entertainment business as well. And I think maybe Matchroom are probably, do it with a bit more of an entertainment head on first, rather than, a boxer's development.
But Matchroom probably developed better because of it. What's Yarde going to actually gain? Is this fight going to prepare Yarde for the Callum Johnson fight?
No, not particularly well. I mean, there's a balance with everything. Sometimes it can, kind of ruin a career if you're just kind of focusing too much on the money or the big fight. I mean, look at what it did to Kell Brook.
I'm not saying that they should have that. They don't seem to. Queensberry struggle to find this middle ground, this middle fight. That's what I'm accusing them of. Yeah. I don't mind these fights from time to time, but they just go from these fights to then Kovalev.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's nothing in between to get him ready for Kovalev.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Dubois, really. Who did Dubois really fight to get ready for Joyce? I back Dubois, to be fair, but
yeah. Well, he did fight Nathan Gorman.
Yeah, but we don't know how good he is. He doesn't,
I think
then he fought Latte, and was it Latte? What was his name?
Richard Latte.
And and then he's been cleaned out by the English champion recently, hasn't he? On the Matchroom show. So it's like, I don't know where's that kind of. I don't know where Joyce has actually fought some decent names, and even though they're a bit past it, he had Stavern on his record. Yeah, I passed it Stavern, but still.
Yeah.
And who else had Joyce got? He got
Brian Jennings.
Brian, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so he's been in with that level that's going to get you ready.
Yeah.
Dubois never had anything like that, and I think what it comes down to is Queensberry won't pay that kind of money because those fighters usually at the end of the career will want a bit of money rather than what Dino will want.
Yeah. You make a fair point. I think you're right. With Joe Joyce, they definitely had a stronger sense of where he was at with his amateur background and also the caliber that he was fighting. Staying with the heavyweights, and whilst you're on a roll, a bit of a rant tonight. Dillian Whyte is going to be meeting with Matchroom this week to discuss his next fight. I was thinking about this today, actually. What do you? I think they're talking about him fighting in America. Where do you see his next fight, or who would you like to see him fight next? Should I say?
Well, I mean, if you're going to ask me that, it's Wilder, isn't it? But what's realistically going to happen? I mean, I think I'd like to see him go to America, have an easier fight, and then go on and take on a bigger name, perhaps still in America. It all depends what the long game is. If it's like to fight Wilder in America in December and get his profile out, then I'd love to see the Ortiz fight in the summer, but I'd imagine that's unrealistic. So the more realistic would be something like a Washington, something that's not a huge test, but a name or a wellish known name out there, and actually go, right, Washington is technically quite good, but again, if you get to him, he's not going to last long, but do a good job on him.
I don't know if
that'd be acceptable for me.
Yeah. I think it's got to be somebody quite high up with the WBC because he seems pretty committed to the WBC route now. Now that he's won the.
Does it? I don't know if it has to be that though. Oh, no. If it's it doesn't have to be if the other person is happy that if they win, they don't take the mandatory spot.
Yeah.
So that someone like Washington might say, well, hang on a minute, as well as money, I do want the. But the thing is, they'll just be rematched, won't they? They'll just have a rematch clause of every fight.
Yeah, it's a good shout actually, like a Gerald Washington or Frank Sanchez, probably be a bit risky.
Yeah, that would. Can't see that on that.
Or Trevor Bryan, maybe try and get the WBA regular.
Yeah, that'd be a good option.
Yeah,
that'd be a very good option.
All right, I guess time will tell. Last.
Sorry about that.
Last bit of news. Are you at the toll road, or is that your sat nav?
Can you see me?
No, I can't see you. No. Hey. You have had a haircut.
Popped up now.
Yeah.
No, I've just arrived home.
Oh, okay. So yeah, just last bit of news then. The PBC announced their schedule for the next 3 or 4 months. Some interesting fights on here, actually. The Charlo brothers are out. One, Jamel Charlo is fighting Castano, which is a decent fight. That's a unification, light middle. And then Jamal Charlo is fighting Montiel, which is pretty shit. Not great at all. And David Benavidez is fighting Uzcatsguy, is another one that kind of got my attention. I think that's going to be a very good fight. Uzcatsguy was famously avoided by James DeGale. I think it was for the IBF at the time. I think they need to get a venue for that, but that's in August. But that's going to be good. I'm really excited to see David Benavidez back, actually, because I think he's going to be a real problem for the super middleweight division. You still there?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just getting in my house. Yeah, I've not looked at the PBC in detail, but saw the headlines. And Tank's fight's been announced, isn't it?
Yeah, he's fighting Barros.
And we were talking about this midweek. Have we worked out if this is for a belt or not yet?
It's got WBA attached to it, so I don't know if it's actually for a belt. Bear with me.
I didn't think it was, but I know you seem to.
I don't think it is, no. But I think the belts are going to become very fragmented at light welterweight because Taylor and Ramirez are having an undisputed fight on the 22nd of May. So I don't know if they maybe position him to maybe try and pick up another world title at another weight division, which would be pretty amazing considering he's only 24. But it's the level of opposition. I don't think it's that great. It's kind of criminal, really, that he's just not even being talked about fighting any of the other lightweight kings. But there we are. That's boxing. That's why we love it and we hate it at the same time.
Indeed.
All right.
I'm back.
Just in time for the football.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other news. Is there anything else that I've missed?
Well, it's the usual saga of Joshua and Fury, and a site's been agreed.
Yeah.
So progressing, and I think Hearn said 6 to 8 days until announcement. Not sure what still takes as long when you've got all those things done, but we'll see. Over in the UK, Joshua was on the Jonathan Ross show last night, and so he was talking a bit about it. And then I think Tyson Fury kind of sent a message in. So that got the tongues wagging last night. And yeah, we're getting close to a bumper May, and we're looking forward to May. Lots of big action on. Starting on the 1st with Parker Chisora. Yes.
So next week we are going to do a prediction for Parker Chisora. We can maybe throw some predictions on the undercard fighters as well. I think they're going to be a little bit more straightforward. Andy Ruiz versus Arreola, the big one.
Is that on the 1st as well?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. I know we'll do a proper prediction, but who are you leaning towards at the moment between Chisora and Parker? I'm interested.
Chisora.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not overconfident, but so it is quite a hard one to predict. I just think he might be a bit. I just think he might get the points decision because of his aggression.
Interesting.
I think Parker. He's not a massive hitter. He's gone to the points with a lot of people. And say again.
He put Dillian Whyte down there, didn't he?
Yeah, but Dillian Whyte was knackered at that point. Dillian Whyte was how he usually is in the last few rounds. So I don't see that as a. Obviously, he can hit. If he catches him square, it's a risk, But all in all, I don't think he'll knock him out. I think there's a bigger chance of Chisora knocking him out, though. I think it'll still go to points, and I just think Parker seems to sometimes just do enough. But I think with someone like Chisora, who's going to be on him all the time, he'll have to really hit him cleanly and win the rounds clear. And I just wonder if he will. Might be totally wrong. It's a hard one to know. It's going to thing, but that's one thing you'd say about Parker. He just sometimes doesn't find other gears.
Yeah.
And I think he's got worse for it. I think he's got worse as he got older. I don't know if it's a stamina thing or what.
He's still young though. He's only 28, isn't he? 28, 29? For heavyweight. He's still doing his best years ahead of him.
Yeah. Yeah. But people age at different things and
yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to May. Lots of good fights coming up.
Yeah.
Just trying to think if there's any other kind of news knocking about.
I don't think there is. Hopefully, next weekend is going to be the one where we can actually talk about the Fury AJ, because I am kind of sick of talking about it now, really, until we get an announcement and a date and a venue.
Well, we said we'll try and do a sneaky video, won't we, if it's fully announced?
If it gets announced, yeah, we'll jump on. We'll do 10 minutes, yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for listening. All right.